So guys, we truly hope you enjoyed that last video on understanding liquidity. Hopefully you can see just how powerful those concepts are and how we can use them to really gain that edge within the market. Now, this is your third and final video in the free training that we have prepared for you. And in this video, we're going to be having a look at the beauty of the swing. Now, here at TST, our strategy is focused on swing trading. It is on those higher time frames and those larger moves because we feel that, trading is about freedom at the end of the day. You don't want to be sat staring at your charts all day, monitoring the 5 minute, monitoring the 1 minute. We much prefer to look at that higher time frame bias, higher time frame direction, and get on with our lives, get on with our days, whatever that may be. So what we like to do is focus on the larger picture, highlight a pinpoint area that we can look to trade from, get those nice tight entries, and then really maximize those risk to rewards. So those tight entries, larger time frame picture is truly a great recipe. So what we're going to do is look at a couple of examples of the strategy and how we tie all these concepts together to really maximize our swing positions. Let's get onto the charts and get into it. So guys, welcome to the first example on the beauty of the swing. Now the first example is going to be here on pound dollar, and we're just on the weekly time frame. So we're really focusing on that larger time frame picture at the minute. Now, what can we see here? So what we can see is we do have this area here, which is actually all-time lows for GBP USD. Price has never gone below that level before. And as we can see, price eventually made its way back into these levels. We wicked through those areas there, and then we actually closed above there on the weekly time frame. So naturally, as we've come into these all-time lows, we can assume there's going to be a nice strong push to the upside, back in that opposite direction. We can also kind of argue the way we came into this area was slightly corrective. We did have a bit of a descending overall nature to that price. So ideally, we want to now look to take GBP USD to the upside. Don't know why that's not loading. 1 second. There we go. So looking here on the daily time frame, again, what can we see? So I do like these two levels up here as potential longer term targets. We have a nice daily swing there, and we have a nice daily swing there. So first targets for me would be around 1.32 and then 1.352. So this is looking great. Now, if we start to jump down onto the smaller time frames, we can start to see this picture a little bit more clearly, and we can start to piece together everything that we've just learned and that we've just understood. So what can we see? So we've had a push to the upside, and we can kind of treat all this price here as a big correction in order for price to go and create that next push to the upside. So we can see here that we have a trend line in play. We can kind of see that we've pushed to the downside. We've now taken liquidity from buyers in this area. We've then pushed the upside and we've broken our high there. So we can clearly see we've grabbed liquidity to the downside and then moved to the upside. So overall, this gives me a good idea that we are going to go and move to the upside. We've also got a nice impulse, and this to me looks like a nice correction for that next impulse to the upside. So you can see everything we've just touched upon, is now starting to tie together. So we can then start to jump down onto the 4 hour and have a look at this price action a little bit clearer. So again, this is a different variation of a pattern, and this is what we call a falling wedge. So naturally what we're looking for is for price to trickle down here, give us that 1, 2, 3, lines up with the order block in here, and then we can go and push to the upside. So you might be asking, okay, well, why is that the order block? Again, I'm not too sure why this is moving slightly slow. So again, you could argue that this area here is the order block, this area here is the order block, or this area here is the order block. Now, again, this is why the first video is so important to this. Discretion is so key to trading. It's up to you, your knowledge, your experience to decide which one to use. So for me, this is the high here that needed to be broken. So this is a push, this is a pullback, this is a push, this is a pullback, and this one here actually created the leg that pushed to the upside. So for me, the last bearish candle there is our order block. So naturally, I'm now looking for price to come into this area, give us that 1, 2, 3, and push to the upside. So what we can do is set our limit here. We can bring our stop loss
just below that level with a nice 30 pip stop. And we have our first longer term targets up here. Let me just change the color of that so you can see it a little bit better, for 31%. So as you can see there, the power of understanding that overall picture, understanding that liquidity has been taken, understanding that we have an impulse, we have a correction, and then understanding that pinpoint area of interest where we can look to take that trade. We've got a relatively small stop loss, and we're understanding that swing, that higher time frame bias target and direction to really get the most out of this trade. So if I just start to play these out now, you'll see that we come into this area, we come and fulfill our pattern. Came very close to getting stopped there, but again, that's why we have our stops below the order block. We tag on the trend line, we create that 1, 2, 3, we react off this level, and we now start to push to the upside. So beautiful reaction off that level there, gives us that pinpoint area of interest, to look to enter our trades from. And then what can we see here? Again, there's always potential for scalings. We can see that we do have another descending correction there after this push up. So naturally, we should now see another push to the upside. You can use what we teach you time and time again and can actually scale into positions rather aggressively sometimes. Now, what we can see is prices continuing to push to the upside here. We get very close to our target before we move away. Now, I believe we do go and touch this. There we go. So we do go and smash through our target there. Really nice. And that does give us a nice 31% risk to reward. So really, really happy with that. If you were just going to take your trade there, then that's great. But we also know that we can also go and target these next highs, which would give us an extra 10%. So what I'm going to do is jump up a time frame just so this plays out slightly quicker. And we can now play this out. So what we can see again is we have a double top here. We push to the upside to gather liquidity. And then you can see that we do go and we move back to the downside there ever so slightly. Again, taking liquidity from all these levels before we do go and push back to the upside. So again, this will have been a longer term hold. And again, there's going to be positions that you can take in and around these, all this movement here to capitalize on these moves to the upside as well. So you can see you could get a really, really, huge potential out of this trade. There's going to be trades in and around all these levels as well in order to take it to the upside. But the important thing is we have our overall direction from this down here. This shows us that overall direction. We've highlighted our overall targets, and then we can just trade accordingly into those levels. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, guys. Hopefully you can see the power of what we've covered today and how that played out to a T. So the power of the swing there. Again, this doesn't require much management. We don't have to sit here watching it every single day. We've got our targets. We can let this puppy play out. Obviously, we can get on the charts. We can look at this. Smaller time frames. There's obviously going to be positions in here. There's potentially sell positions on the way down and stuff as well. But that overall picture remains the same, and we don't have to sit here staring at our charts. Now, again, don't worry if all this doesn't quite make sense. Again, we do cover this entire concept, this entire strategy within the course. Right, guys, so we now have our second example of the swing. So looking at Kiwi Yen here on the weekly time frame, again, what can we see? So the market clearly found a base here, pushed to the upside, breaking highs, and then we had this nice impulse, and then we had this really large correction all the way to the downside. And you can see there that we had one touch, two touch, and we had body closures above here giving us that third touch. So to me, this would suggest upside. We can see all this price action down into this level as well. Super descending, super corrective. Now, if we drop to the daily time frame, what can we see? So again, we can see a descending correction. We can see an impulse. And again, we can treat this as one big correction, again, to go and continue a move to the upside. So that's essentially what I'm seeing here. Now, in terms of targets, potentially this could go a hell of a lot higher. But looking at this, we can see that we have a high here, and we have a high here. So these could be two potential longer term targets. Now, if we drop down onto the 8-hour time frame, we can have a little bit of a closer look at what's going on. So understanding all the concepts we've spoken about today, I'm sure you can now see this straight away. So we can see here that we have a low, we have a low. The market has now purged that low ever so slightly, gathering liquidity before breaking a smaller time frame high, a smaller time frame level of structure there. So what we can see is we've had an impulse that broke our highs after taking liquidity. We're then forming a correction. So naturally we should see that next impulse to the upside. So if I drop down onto the 2 hour here, you'll be able to see that kind of smaller swing broken. So we've pushed down, pulled back, pushed down. We've then pushed to the upside, which broke our high in here. So if we jump back to the 4 hour time frame, we can take a closer look and potentially look for an entry now. So looking at this bit of price here, what can we see? So again, we've had the impulse. We're now seeing a correction. So I'd like price to make its way down here, give us that third touch that lines up with that nice clear order block. And then we'll look for that clear push to the upside there. So again, I'm just going to play a few candles out, make sure price action is okay. So we do mess around a little bit there, but nothing to stress about. It's still overall the same picture. We can then see price starts to make its way back in. And we do start to slow down there straight away, which is good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my entry at the top of the order block. I'm then going to bring my stops just below the order block for about 16 or so pips. And then what I'm going to do is target the 90% rule, which gives us a nice 10%. And then we can target that first daily high up there, which gives us a nice 29% trade there. So again, looking really clean. I'm just going to play a few candles out now. And as you can see, we do start to make our way into the area of interest there. Tag us in, buy the pip. So again, you'd need a raw spread account. You'd need, an account that offers pretty much very small spread there in order to get tagged into that position, or you may not get triggered in using a conventional account. And then what we can see is price starts to then work its way to the upside, really nice. And we're getting that impulsive nature that we see time and time again out of these order blocks and out of these patterns, because again, we have an impulse, we have a correction. So naturally, we're then going to see an impulse to the upside. And then obviously we come down there, take out our lows, create another descending correction, and we continue to push to the upside. And then we can see that targets are hit there for a nice 29.26%. So hopefully you can see the power of these two concepts combined together. Hopefully you can see the power of the swing as well. So the power of, not really having to do much. We basically set alerts on TradingView and we get on with our day. If an alert comes off, we then come back to the screens or we check our phone. We'll have a look at price action, set entries if we need to, and then we continue with our day. And what we can see there is, that just works out because of these patterns, because of these order blocks, we get those impulsive moves. It means that we don't really need to do too much management either. Again, we do cover how to manage these trades within the course, as well as how to find entries if you don't want to take them, as an order. We do look at how to enter off candles and wait for confirmation and all that sort of good stuff as well. So again, if none of this does make sense straight away, don't worry too much, because like I've said a few times now, we do cover it within the course. And then potentially what we can do is look to extend that. And as we can see here, we come down to the downside there. So again, we take out our lows, gather liquidity, then take out our highs. So naturally price will continue to the upside now. And again, we've just come in to fill some orders there before we get that last little push to the upside to hit our targets. There we go. So overall, that could have been a nice 49.72% trade. So hopefully you can see the true power of how combining all these together, all these different methods, understanding order blocks, understanding where liquidity is, and then also using that discretion to use technicals and understand where we have patterns, making sure price action's right, making sure we're corrective and ascending or corrective and descending. All that sort of stuff tied together gives us that huge edge within the market.
So guys, that's it. We hope you really did enjoy that. Hopefully you can see just how powerful combining both of these strategies together truly can be. And if this strategy interests you and this is something that you want to get involved in, then do feel free to check out the Pro package. You get access to a huge bundle of different features, whether it be our Pro Telegram, Slack community, trade recaps, market breakdowns, and every single day we do also create an evening update video, so you are always on top of the market. And if you do have any questions in the meantime, do join our free package, get over in the Slack community and send us a message. me, Max, or any of our community members will get back to you straight away regarding any questions you may have. So we hope you did enjoy this. We hope you can really take some value away today, and it'd be great to see you in the community. Cheers, guys.